These questions are from slide 10. What is the difference between the effects of I language and you language? So, I language focuses on your perception, your feelings, your beliefs, rather than thoughts and characteristics that you attribute to the other person. You language comes off as much more accusatory. So, if I'm like, hey, I feel like you don't really want to go, it's like, yeah, hey, that's how I'm perceiving it. Could be wrong, but that's just how I'm receiving that information. Comes off much better than you don't want to go. It's like, oh, why do you assume that I don't want to go? Saying, hey, I feel like you don't want to go sounds better than you don't want to go. So it's much more better, gonna probably be received much better. And it's also become more of a joke because people are becoming more aware of the importance of I language. So you can see in this like movie, this girl goes, I feel the need for you to stay out of my business so I don't punch you in the teeth. Which it's like, oh, not the best use of I language. But like it's funny though that she's like using I language that way. So we don't really want to use it in that same way. But when you are communicating to someone your perception of something or how you feel about something, it's best to use I language and not you language. So you don't sound like you're accusing them of anything. Why do we want to avoid always and never in conflict resolution? So, both statements are examples of absolute speak, a type of communication that often leads to conflict in relationship. Most of the time, absolute speak is false. It's an exaggeration we make to express our feelings. So, it's like, you always lie. It's like, really? I always lie? Everything I say is a lie? Or it's like, you never take the trash out. And it's like, really? I've never in my life taken the trash out. So it's just an exaggeration to make us express our feelings, but it really limits possibilities and it places blame. So it's really just not a good thing to do. So we want to avoid it. What do you need to admit to in conflict resolution? You need to admit to your own faults in the conflict. We've talked about this in class, and I know that there are people in the world who are just mean for no reason, and we don't know why. But more often than not, we probably have some role to play there, something we can do to help the situation as well. Um, there's usually blame to share, so we also want to admit our own shortcomings in a conflict. What do you need to communicate in conflict resolution? You need to communicate your perception of the conflict so that you both can have complete understanding. So, like, let the other person communicate their perception, let you communicate your side. Because it's like these like little visual trick pictures. It's like, oh, like, do you see a young woman looking away, or do you see a super old lady with like a big old nose? It's like it depends on your perception. So it's the same picture, but we might see it very differently. Same thing for conflict. Like I had a conflict with my husband yesterday over something about like making dinner and who was going to do dishes. And so the way I perceived it was different than the way he perceived it, but we're both talking about the exact same event. And so you both need to communicate your perception so that way you can both have complete understanding of how to resolve it. It's not so that you can understand whose fault it actually is and like who owes the apology. It's just so you understand, okay, here's why this happens. Oh, I understand why you interpret it that way.